Greetings, everybody. We are here at the Los Angeles Performance Center. Someone forgot to turn off their ringer.
It was me.
It was you?
It was me.
Vince.
Shout out.
I immediately thought it was me, but I could remember turning my ringer off 30 seconds ago.
Well, the best part is, shout out to Lauren, who set the camera up for us and then just texted me because she says she gets nervous that she didn't start it.
She wanted to make sure.
So she
that was her.
Walked 5 feet away and then sent me a text. So yeah, blew up the intro.
And Aubrey, I'm okay to mention it. We said we're letting everyone know about the crew here.
Yeah, that's fine.
We're an open book here. Aubrey, who helps cover the team and the players and so forth. She texted me right as I walked in here, and she's sitting right there. She's literally 20 steps away. Couldn't walk in here and say that.
No.
Or couldn't have told me 2 minutes before I walked over.
Well, they know how important this is.
And Aubrey listens to this.
And they're, if anything, they're professional as professional gets, and they would not interrupt our podcast ever. Never. Unlike Mitchell, who came in one time.
This is holy ground. And this is what Stardog, who said if Mitchell came in and he quietly pulled out, I go, next time you come in and
yeah,
we'll chat with you.
We should have Mitch on.
This should be this would be a revolving door, open door, whoever wants to come in. Mitchell's very interesting. Or some people call him Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch.
That's a good dilemma. Did you hear about Mitchell Trubisky, the quarterback of the Chicago Bears? And it was Mitch Trubisky in college, and they said, please call me Mitchell Trubisky.
Well, what about Giancarlo Stanton as Michael? Yeah.
That was one of my top one of my top Sports Center calls when Giancarlo Stanton hit a home run. I go, Giancarlo! And people loved it. Yeah. Just screamed it out. Just making noise. People love that stuff.
Well, I mean, that's a good change, right? I would change my name to Giancarlo, too.
Giancarlo is very cool. Especially when you look like that.
I love that
huge.
I love that our intros go right off the rails.
I insist on it. I insist on it. Well, we got a mini segue there. Giancarlo Stanton, now a member of the New York Yankees, which is where LAFC played this weekend, first road game, and we'll just get this out of the way because a lot of people are asking about that, and we'll just let the players and the coaches off the hook. We'll just say it. Playing at that field and that facility is not fun. It's a shock to the system, to anything you're accustomed to. You just got to get over it. You've got to get it over with and try and get as much out of it as possible. You prepare yourself probably for some weird things to happen. I don't know about how the home team, I think the home team has to use that to their advantage because I think it is our home field advantage in a huge way. It's like playing at altitude. It's like playing in the cold or whatever it is. This is a unique circumstance, and you have to find a way to overcome it. And whatever you might think, LAFC were able to do that. Yeah,
if you play there 17 plus times a season and you go, yeah, we have this home field advantage, but we refuse to use it. I mean, that's just a dereliction of your duties as a manager and as a team.
But we should look into that because there is a distinct advantage to playing there, and you know the little tricks and the little nooks and crannies that you can play to your advantage. You do it.
Well, there is, and the best part is, we play there. Yes, it's weird. It looks weird. It's really tough to watch on TV, and they kind of got hammered on national TV. And what's out today? Oh, we're close to finding a new home. They're so good. They're so good at this. No, Max, don't clap because
it's not going to happen.
Yeah, you know what's happening. We're close.
But they say we'll get an answer soon.
I know. Well, that's what they always say, right? And then remember there was.
We're moving the team to Cleveland.
What was the last one? They were around the docks or something.
There was in Queens. There was a while back.
Yeah, what happened to that? It disappeared.
They played at Yankee Stadium, and the Queens area is kind of owned by the Mets. Not owned by the Mets, but a lot of property is where they have the U.S. Open, which is a huge facility, and they have like a few tennis courts. It'd be a great place. You have the public transportation there, but that ain't going to happen. No. But even people watching it, they said these games really shouldn't be as much on TV. You see them a lot less for that reason, just for the aesthetics. And, you can feel a bit of a malaise around that franchise. They're still a good franchise. They're probably going to be a playoff team at the end of the season because they're very proactive about that. But that kind of...
Yeah, the grass is gross. It is a down. The camera angle's not good.
And this is before the Yankees go in there, and then they have to deal being,
well, the Yankees
co-tenants.
The funny thing is when the Yankees go in there, it's actually going to make the place a little bit better because they'll keep the grass green at least.
That's true.
Which is sad.
Yeah.
But I mean, other than that, I mean, it does not look great on TV, but yeah, let's just talk about the actual soccer aspect of it. I mean, you look at the team that LAFC put out there, and they're definitely very cognizant of it. I think we'll talk a little bit more about it, but Latif, the versatile man out there,
right.
They put him out there. I mean, that's almost tailor-made for him, right? There's less spaces on the ball, and you say to Latif, hey, man, just get out there and do you.
Yeah.
Be energetic, get on top of guys. And Latif made me look very smart. People were texting me before the game as I just kind of put out. See, here's what happens. The team goes. I don't travel with the team, so I get a chance to maybe just be.
Never?
I did. I went to Seattle, and I'm going to try to go to Minnesota, and I might try to go to a few more. But rarely do I actually travel with the team, and it's actually kind of nice. Gives me a chance to kind of just sit back, watch it on TV, maybe take it in more. But so I'll give my kind of thoughts on the lineup. And one of the things someone said to me is like, "Well, are you sure about Latif there?" I go, "Latif's a better passer than you think. 2, he's going to disrupt play higher up the pitch, which will give him, which in itself is a way to creativity, and he'll play forward. And what does he do? Disrupts play out the back, finds Carlos Vela, 1-1. Vince, genius. And I think Latif, he did it for me.
It's all Vince's credit.
You're
given.
welcome.
I thought Latif had one of the better games he's had as an LAFC player, and it really fit the bill for that place. And he found space when there wasn't space, and I think that's the most you could ask of these players.
Well, you bring up a really good point. So we talk about Latif, and it's so easy to say, oh, he's energetic, he's quick, he does this, but I think sometimes it gets lost that he's a very good soccer player. Like, let's not forget this. And there were times
he's got great instincts. He knows where. I mean, he kind of turns and he goes, which you always want to see. You see a guy, whether he beats the guy in front of him or not, he's gonna try.
Especially as we seem to get more of a foothold in the second half. Latif was turning out of pressure. They were finding passes through the midfield. That's, if you want to break down the two halves, the real missing link was that first half. There was I can't think of more than 2 or 3 passes between midfielders. That is part of the game model. The midfield has to be able to work amongst itself to get the team high up the pitch. Now, that pitch, it's difficult to do that, right? And New York even changes up their lineup a little bit and says, we'll put 3 guys in the middle to combat your 3 guys. So that made it tough. But I think in the second half, LAFC started to get...
With a false 9, too. They were going to...
Well, and Matriza
everything's going to be much deeper.
Matriza just cherry picking, willing to. I mean, the guy. It takes 3 to 4 guys to get him off the ball. I mean, he's a fantastic player, and I'll readily admit I was wrong.
See, I don't bring this stuff up. It's against. I know, but he on LAFC Black and Gold was very curious about the move. But I agreed with you. Young Romanian player, way off the grid. I'm like, what? I mean, maybe if it's like a young Honduran player or an American or what have you, or Argentine, which we know is a great pipeline, but that was weird, but it seems to be working. So New York City FC did their due diligence. So far, it looks like they got a good-looking young player with a very high ceiling. And
I'm finally seeing the Giovinco comparisons. I mean, the ability to kind of float left, pick up that ball, and just take it the whole way. The one thing I would say is he's probably the missing piece for his game. Maybe it's the guys around him. Doesn't really bring his teammates into the game as much as Giovinco did.
But I think there's a lot.
But he can hit a free kick.
Yeah, I think there's a lot there. This all happened very quickly, and now he's a young man, a long way from home, and he is in New York. It has its own challenges, playing on a unique field, which he's a little different than what he's accustomed to doing, and I think we can give him a little bit of time. But by the way, getting back to Latif, you can see the value, becoming one of the more valuable players because of what's happened in the last 2 games where he's coming to be able to play right back to fill in for Steven Beitashour and then coming to play there. And then I think that keeps teams guessing to have that wild card, not wild card, but that ace up the sleeve. Just use another a gambling analogy.
I mean, you were out there doing Matchday Central.
Yes.
And you were there doing the pregame. And what's one of the things that the guys out there did first thing when they saw Latif, they went ahead and moved him out to the right.
They had like the wing backs.
So you think New York? I mean, New York has to look at it, maybe think
this is true. I mean,
it's possible he could shift out.
I should have called you and asked that, but I was a little like, could it be? I mean, we've done that last year. There was a kind of a style like that, but it's not. That's not in the books now.
No, I know. I mean,
especially there.
Let's be fair. I get to watch training.
Yeah.
I did get to see Latif play as kind of a free number 8 a little bit in training, so I knew that probably wasn't going to happen. But I would say this, I also did think that it could have been a nuance that could have happened, though, in game. That's one of those things that, really good teams are able to change they keep their game model, but because formations aren't tactics. Formations aren't your game model. You're still going to want to play the same way. You're still going to want to find passes, essentially. But you just set up guys differently, especially if you have a small field. And I thought, great teams are able to change even their formations within matches. So, yeah, I could have seen that happen, but I knew from the start, no, Latif's going to play central. And that's what he's versatile like that. Yeah,
it was tremendous. And again, it's worth mentioning 2 missing starters when you look at the list of stuff that LAFC had to overcome, including the first road trip, because it's a shock to the system when you get away from that comfort. This is a complete departure from last year where they had to be on the road and they're waiting for their stadium to be built. Stadium's been built. Everyone lives here. There's no new players coming down the pike. Everyone's comfortable, staying in their own homes. First 2 games, complete creature comfort run of the mill. And then this, and they looked comfortable. They adapted to it, and they have a home game coming up, which we're going to talk to, and then they have 2 road games. So to see how they react, or how it seemed very a collective effort. Even on social media, I was seeing it. There's a lot of fun photos in New York. Everyone was together, and I thought they answered it pretty well. Could they have lost that game? Sure. Could they have won the game? Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, right? That last kick of the game.
But the sport's weird because you kind of get this thing and you say, they deserve that. They deserved something out of that. And, you know, maybe it's a cliche, but you get a point on the road, even if you're a good team against a good squad like New York City FC, and that's a nice thing to put in the bank.
Well, against a good squad, we said adverse conditions. You're missing some starters. And
that list of things. And this
is the first time that we've gotten to see LAFC just go, hey, we can just roll. Unless you have like CCL, like hopefully LAFC will have in the near future, the ability to roll out the same 11 is going to be a big part of what's going to be successful for you. But you know, sometimes you gotta move guys in and out. And I think one of the biggest aspects is the team grew into the game. They had to deal with Danilo playing right back. That's probably not his favorite position, especially when you have New York who's saying, you know, they have a smart team, they have a smart coach. He's looking and going, okay, Steven Beitashour's out. Well, let's always attack down the left. I think they exclusively went down that.
Yeah, and they found success that direction.
Yeah, and why wouldn't you?
Right, and Steven Beitashour, reminder of his value for this team, not just as a right back, but I think getting everyone on board in that area. We see him; he's always he's always communicating and having these real personal conversations. I think with Latif a few times, he's like, "Come here," and he works things out.
Yeah, but at no point did I think that NYCFC had raced out far enough that LAFC couldn't catch them. And I think it is a good point. That's a game they might lose last season. But the combination of the team knowing each other, having an inner resilience kind of within the squad, and then Carlos Vela.
Yeah, incredible goal right up. I mean, he was just was as the crow flies. That run, got behind it, tried to dislodge him off the ball. It's very difficult to do. And the front-running MVP candidates, Carlos Vela is there, probably at the top of the list. Incredible that he can come up at the big moment, which he does. I don't think he made the MLS 11, by the way.
No, he was a substitute.
Huh?
Two goals to lead your team back, and you're a substitute. Yeah. Again, I think
it's okay.
A little bit of that East Coast bias.
Oh, you heard it. Because they're asleep sometimes when Carlos is playing. That's not true. I know you guys are wrong. But you're a little groggy. You're a little groggy. Yeah. Not this time, but by and large. So, and then he had his great celebration. It's great. It looks like he swung a baseball bat before.
Yeah.
It was very fluid.
Can I tell?
Was it Larry Freeman? If someone someone hitting the ball out in right field at Yankee Stadium, that very short right field fence. And with the call, it was pretty cool. So whoever put that out, social media, excellent.
Our content team moves fast.
Yeah.
We move very
Wasn't Larry?
fast.
I can see Larry Freeman. Larry Freeman reposted it.
Larry
Freeman.
Larry is our biggest fan.
Yes, but he did not create that on his.
No, he did not create that. But once he sees something that gold, he's got to get it out there. And I'll say this, as a fan that somewhat likes baseball, not as much as Michael Rosen, who gets another shutout, loves his baseball.
He's sitting on his laptop watching spring training.
But I'm curious.
Who does that?
It makes me curious when you see guys that you wouldn't normally think swinging a bat. Carlos left-footed swings left. That interests me because I've watched Jordan Harvey swing a bat. Left-footed swings right.
So this is we had that discussion about getting to see the jump shot of Carlos Vela because that's his love. He loves basketball. So if he can swing a baseball bat, I have a feeling he probably has a pretty sweet.
It was
James Harden-esque.
It was smooth, right? At least.
It's very good.
I mean, I don't know if he could deal with the heat, but. You know, if he gets one down the middle, he could.
Maybe lay down a bunt. So he came up big.
Yeah.
And those 2 goals, after what he did last week, the last 2 games, they've turned to Carlos Vela for those moments, and he's provided them. And I think we know that the rest of the team will be able to do that as well, whoever it might be. But right now, Carlos Vela, when looked upon, has been fantastic. He looks strong. He looks fit. It looks great on the road. People are coming after him, and he's answering the bell time and time again. So this is a great development right now, early on for LAFC.
Yeah, I think Christian Ramirez said either after the Sporting game or after Portland, he said he's told Carlos, we will go as far as you carry us. And I don't think that that's a slight to the rest of the team. Your best player has to be your best player. And if they can fall in line, especially when Carlos can be good in those moments when maybe the team's not playing their best, the conditions aren't their best, they're not getting the calls. If the team can rally around a captain like that, that's the type of captain Carlos is. He's going to be the guy he's not going to rah-rah you. He's not going to be screaming and yelling in your face. He's going to say, okay, I'm going to show you the path. I'm going to show you the way through this team. You follow me and I'll take us there.
Yeah.
And I think, and Bob said it, the one thing, people hammered him last season. What can Carlos do better? What can Carlos do better? Just better in the biggest moments.
Yeah.
And so far he has been.
Yeah, and there's a couple times when it wasn't the case there. Last season, working on a consistent basis and a very interrupted season to give him, a reason, because that was challenging certainly for Carlos, and it was year one. 2 substitutions in this game that I think people were talking about. Dio comes in a little sooner. He comes in right at the half for Christian Ramirez. Made an impact, but then it didn't really until the very end where he had that I guess, gilt-edged chance. It was not. It was
so
something.
The ball pops out to you. I guarantee if Dio is sitting right here next to us, he goes, I finished that 9 times out of 10. But yeah, the ball pops out to you. It's made that much more paramount, being that it was literally the last kick of the game.
Yeah.
But Sean Johnson, you saw Sean Johnson when that ball hit the side of the net, and the side of the net that he wanted it to hit on, he was kind of like, ooh, okay, we're good.
Well, look. No one's 100% here, and then to hit a ball so perfectly like he did Sporting Kansas City, it didn't hit perfectly there, but close. Certainly gave a scare to Sean Johnson. It shows you the body work he's working. I think Dio's gonna be able to tuck those away. So Dio's gonna get his chance to start in the next game. We'll talk about that. So he'll get more than likely a full 90. The other substitution that happened was Adrian Perez coming in, and the people at some point wondering, Andre Horta, why is he not coming into this game? And there's obviously been. For a guy coming back who's struggled with a few minor injuries here, you want to put him in a good spot. Yeah. And this wasn't really that spot.
No, I think if you're taking all things considered, first of all, maybe you don't start him because you say, okay, he's coming back from injury. Do I really want to put a guy in there that I know I'm going to have to take out, especially when you're missing someone like Lee Nguyen? You're already kind of moving some pieces around in midfield. But we've talked to people, and one of the things they really want out of Andre is stay central, find spaces, find those spaces in the tightest spaces, even when people don't see them. Well, Yankee Stadium, that's not exactly the place to go out there and say, hey kid, go find your spaces in this tiny little fishbowl of a stadium. So I think that's probably the right move, especially when you consider what's coming the next weekend.
Yeah.
An ability to give him the...
It's opened up for him for this place.
Yeah, give him the run out.
Pressure's off a little bit and the opportunities there to make more of an impact at home.
When you made a great point before we started the podcast to me, you're like, confidence. You can't underestimate how much confidence plays a part in this. So why wouldn't you set your players up to succeed? I mean, that's the coach's job, right?
And remember, confidence took a shot the very first time we saw him with the back pass against the Galaxy. And look, I don't care who you are. That's always going to be there for some time until you can clear that. And now this is an opportunity where you put him in a situation where he can succeed. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, coming back, I think everything. Coming back from injury, the fact that that's just a horrible field. I mean, you got to give him the best chance to succeed. And I don't think that's an indictment of Andre's skill at all. That's just good management.
We'll talk about depth when we preview the Real Salt Lake game, because this is where the depth comes into view, and Real Salt Lake are going to be affected by their lack of depth. I think what we agree on, whereas LAFC should be able to cover the fact they're missing 4 guys, including 2 starters. Mm-hmm. This is a good spot for that, and we can see this is something they build in to have those guys. We'll talk about that shortly. I wanted to leave this about the New York experience and the incredible effort by the LAFC traveling support. All the groups, supporters groups that make up the 3252, and then those who came out. I was out as well in New York. I saw Christian Lau, Natalia. They were close by. I was going to see our guy Siegs, but he was too far down, and I had to watch the end of the Duke-Florida State game because that's where I went, Florida State. They didn't pull it out in the ACC Championship, so I got a little sidetracked and kept it close to home. But not only seeing the Instagram and all the social media about them, all about town, and soaking in the St. Patrick's Day Festival or parade that was there. They were all in their greens, a lot of the green hats for the LAFC attire. Hearing the songs through the TV was incredible. All of them.
Loud.
Every one of the songs. You could hear it. It was like you're at home game, a little bit dull in a bit because of the numbers, but the Diego Rossi song, the jump for LAFC, one after the other. It was
loud and clear.
Yeah.
And I brought something up on my computer because I thought this was a great image. This from Twitter is at Finding Nebula. She posts her hands afterwards saying, no drums allowed for the traveling support, which usually happens for MLS. Her hands are just riddled with blisters because they were using the seats as their drums. So
that's right.
They find a way.
Yeah.
They just find a way. I mean, 200 to 300 supporters.
You guys are the greatest.
They took over New York.
Inspiring.
And one of the coolest things is to then see the New York supporters give them kind of the daps back. Hey, you guys were loud. It was great having you. Look, win in the stands. It's fun to go out there, have a good time, meet the away supporters. Look, the 90 minutes happens, cheer your heart out for your team, then the game's over, you kind of hug again, we meet all again. We're all here for the same thing. So I kind of love that. There's that little bit of rivalry, but at the end of the day, it's over, and hey, some daps to you. Thanks for traveling. Thanks for coming out.
Members of the LAFC Luckies invited me out to Times Square to watch the Chivas America game. I respectfully turned it down. I was not going to Times Square for that.
You weren't going to just stay up 24 hours and party all in New York?
No. I was a little sleep
Couldn't
deprived.
even get Doyle or Warsaw to go out there with you?
That was good. Hey, I got to get, this segment's going on, but just to wrap up the New York experience, spending some time with the MLS digital folks, I think they do an excellent job of what you know what's great about it? It's like we talk so much about Major League Soccer. I was in a room where all these Major League Soccer jokes were being made that could not carry any weight outside of those four walls. But in there, people were laughing, poking fun at some guys, or hey, looking back at the history, and it was just, it was like the MLS nerd crew. We were coming through with the comments about who was the worst left back in Miami Fusion history. We were just having a laugh. It was good fun. Those guys, hats off. Thanks for inviting me.
I enjoyed it, although I thought we were kind of a package deal, Max.
Hey, we could take it by force.
I mean, if I would have just shown up, what are we going to do? I guess maybe.
I was thinking maybe we could put a camera and just do it out of LA, and then we can kind of feed into their program.
Yeah, we just Skype in.
Yeah. I got you, Vince. I got big plans for you.
Yeah, just infiltrate first, and then
yeah.
we'll go.
And then take over.
Yeah, take over from the inside.
All right, so we'll talk about the RSL game, and then we'll have some fun a little bit later in the podcast talking about some music. I got a couple song titles coming out.
Yes.
From this. Not song titles, but thoughts about what we saw from the LAFC guys. Inside LAFC. Make sure you subscribe and leave comments. It is available everywhere, so we can make this bigger and better, and this is going to... I'm very excited about what we have in store, but I'm not sure I can tell you just yet.
No. Tease.
Back here on Inside LAFC, and we have some thoughts. Vince LaRosa of LAFC.com and Max Brelos of YouTube TV. We have our first broadcast. It's going to be the Real Salt Lake game. Very excited about that.
Finally.
And on YouTube TV, starting at 5:30, we have LAFC Matchday. So all this great programming leading into the game. So if you want to get locked in, that's the way to do it. I'll probably promote that again a little bit ahead.
I think I might a little cameo appearance for myself in that.
Yeah, get in there.
Yeah.
We have a lot of streams of content that we should all be. This is a great opportunity. If you get affiliated with a club, especially with aspirations like this, it can be very visible.
First rule of Los Angeles, Hollywood, never say no to a gig.
Good thinking. Kids, remember that. So,
speaking of gigs,
yeah.
Max Brelos on the national MLS gig. Again, I'm getting better about it, but I'm still just a little bummed. But it was nice to see you. I think you did a great job.
Yeah.
I love the, someone tweeted out that you were maybe a little too professional.
But I get what he's saying. They have they have a good vibe going where they have this easy conversation going about that. You just want to plug into that, and maybe my ESPN days are like, hey, what do you think about LeBron James?
I wouldn't say you were unprofessional. What I would say is this: you had the guys chuckling a lot, a little bit of chuckleheads out there, Max. You had them laughing. Were you doing your type five, your best five, or what were you doing up there?
I think my best joke occurred when we're going to talk about Mike Petke, how he said after Real Salt Lake lost 5-0, and Real Salt Lake could be in a really bad patch depending on what happens this weekend. We're going to talk about this game in a little bit. He said the team should go out and bond and have a beer or what have you. And then I kind of said, well, maybe they could wait till they got home and get the 2% Utah beer, and they could forget
like
that. And
they almost had
that's an oldie but a goodie.
They almost had no response because they were laughing too much. That's what I'm saying. You had them chuckling, and they had no quick retorts for you.
You could have a cold one in DC on your way out, maybe a high volume double IPA or something, or you could wait, get Salt Lake the 2%, and then you can have that conversation and be on your merry way. Maybe that's what he would want.
I think
Coke
so.
Petke. But we did the show and you preview it, and then you watch games all day, and it was a long day because they had this Rapids Sporting Kansas City game that started at 9 Eastern time. So we got in at like 2, and then or like 1, and then the game started at 2:33 with the LAFC game, and then just watched games.
Yeah, well, you got soccer.
Watched a lot.
Soccer to the max.
Yes, I got a lot of Major League Soccer.
Good little pun there.
And then you wrap it up at 11 Eastern, and then got a couple hours sleep, and on my way back.
Well, what I want to know is like, what was it like to just be wall-to-wall MLS TVs with all those guys? You said there's inside jokes, but what about like what's going on? Are they really breaking down the games? Are people, hey, you're on this, and then what are you doing? Are you just do you have a whip? Do you have a whip, and you're just
I am.
Do this.
I am just
you master
basically
ceremonies?
No. At that point, when you're watching the games, I'm just in the way, waiting for food to get delivered. They have a lot of TVs. At the beginning, it was all on NASCAR, and I was like, what's with all the NASCAR? And then the funny thing is, it was because FS1 had NASCAR prior to the LAFC New York City FC game, and then the TVs changed. But there's always a TV that was on a game that went on there, and one thing stayed forever. I believe it was also after the second Fox game, the FC Cincinnati. And it was on, and we saw the whole thing, and I kept watching it. It was John Force and drag racing.
Oh, John
so
Force.
if you need any updates on the Gator Nationals, I could sort you out, because I saw most. I always peeked up because it was an escape from some of the Major League Soccer if I needed for a brief second. But people are riding. People are really busy in there. It's like a bunker. They're pushing stuff out. I mean, everyone was very busy, with the exception of me. I was there watching games, eating pizza.
Well, you're in the belly of the beast watching all the games. So tell me what was your thoughts of the weekend? Did you have any hot takes?
Yeah, I mean, it was good to see Cincinnati come out and be able to do that.
Surprising, right?
Surprising. Everything was great. The atmosphere, the one thing, and I don't want to pick away here, but I was looking at the surface of that. I'm like, what's going on with the field?
Yeah.
It looked like something was going to come out of it.
On the broadcast, when they said, hey, they just put it in the field, and normally you should wait 6 to 8 weeks for it to settle, I go, okay, that's not good, right? We're asking
6 to 8
for trouble.
Weeks?
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you see that, and you see a lot of weird surfaces, it doesn't fill you with glee, but it's good to see that they have something working there. And I think on the flip side, alarm bells not quite ringing for Portland. They have time. They got off a slow start last season. They're waiting for their home. But I would imagine this is a team that's going to be pretty active, because there's a dearth of talent. Right?
Yeah,
I looked at them against us.
But
and I
the
go,
window is tightening,
yes.
I would say, right?
Yeah.
Like Diego Valeri, although he seems to be ageless, he's getting old. And I know that they are looking for a DP striker, because they just don't seem to be settled on
They were
Jeremy
for Eduardo Vargas, Chile, and that didn't happen. That would seem like a bit of a good move. Blanco is hot and cold, and more cold than hot right now.
But this is kind of what happened to them last season. They kind of got shellacked a few times, and then Savarese said, okay, I can't do the wide open game model that I wanted, so he kind of retreated them back. They didn't have Diego Chara, which that stat about them with and without Diego Chara, I think they've still never won a game when Diego Chara's not played, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he reels them back a little bit. Maybe it's not going to be the prettiest football.
People go about Diego Chara in a good way, and I like him, and he's a great ball winner and stuff. But I mean, it's talked about like this. We're talking about Javier Mascherano. And he's a good player, but I think you have to be able to move on without him if this is a situation.
There's got to be a plan B, because even if he's there, there's still going to be some kind of cliff edge that you're coming to, right? And maybe him starting to get double yellows and things like that. I mean, look, even if just the refereeing changes, I think that's bad for Diego Chara.
I think a good thing about LAFC, you look at the Western Conference, and there's a real opportunity to finish first. But right now, you'd have to say that the best team in the West, Sporting Kansas City's there, and they've been busy, but they have that potential. I don't want to outrule off FC Dallas, but they have to replenish things. And then Portland could be a really good team by season's end, but they might have to surrender enough points where they're not going to be in the case. The only one, of course, is Seattle, and they continue to be impressive of the group, and that could be the race. And remember, being in first carries a lot more weight. So this could be a fun race down the road. But Seattle looked the goods, and I think Jordan Morris, he looks enormous out there, just size and scope, like a big forward, which anyone would love to have, especially who is athletic and nimble and healthy. Knock on wood, we hope the best for him. And with him and Rui Diaz, you see a real option to get up on people and become a really good team. Yeah, that was my observation, is how good Seattle is. And they come out of the gate flying every game. They seem to get a goal within the first 5 minutes of every game so far. And Jordan Morris, a lot of talk was, well, how are they he's going to move to wing? Is he still going to be able to score goals? I think my biggest knock on Jordan Morris is his first touch is not always great. But if you have him coming from outside to in, you've got that space to take that touch or just finish one time like he's been doing, and he's been phenomenal. And that whole team has decided,
hey, normally we turn it on around June 1st. What if we try when the season starts? Not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Look, they need good teams, and right now, Major League Soccer doesn't have those teams that kind of put fear in you right now. They're good teams that are going to be better. Atlanta, obviously, but that's been a real labor to see them get anything going. I figure, look, there is a stylistic difference in how they're going to play, but it's not working. Will it work? Probably. But right now, that's a team you go against and you say, we can get points off of them.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
the East is always top heavy, right?
Right.
From top to bottom,
the New York
not
teams,
good.
Atlanta, Columbus, that ruling class, but
and then there's a drop-off sometimes.
Yeah.
But with the West, you look at and you just say there's just a lot of good teams. So that's why it seems to be more of a dogfight out here. Although maybe that's changing a little bit. I do think Dallas might sort some things out, but I mean, that's still a lot going on that year. Portland, we've already said, who knows? Maybe they will flip it around.
The one thing that would give me pause about Portland is if they can get a couple players and then they have that big run of home games.
Yeah.
Much like DC United a season ago, they could probably fix a few things. Maybe not get to the top of the West, but make a good run at it. They're not going to stand pat, but they need some help, and I'm sure they're diligently searching for that help, certainly by the next time they meet with LAFC, because that first game didn't feel like the rivalry we saw a season ago. It felt like one-way traffic.
Yeah, which was nice.
It was great. It was great to watch.
I've got to say, after the Sporting game, loved it. I loved the celebration, it going crazy in there, but sometimes you're just like, can we just get one where we're like, we've done and dusted, wrap this up by the 70th minute, 75th minute, and they did that, and that made life so much easier.
Right, absolutely. The San Jose Earthquakes.
Still bad.
Matias Almeida's brought in. I just don't know what's going to happen, and there's a game looming with LAFC in a couple weeks with the Earthquakes, but this is a team that there's not much growth on the player front, nor was there any reason to see it. It didn't really happen. But I wonder where that's going to go, because Almeida is a very well-regarded coach, a guy who's coached, has made a lot of money doing this and would be in demand in a lot of places, but it's not happening right now.
I would assume he wouldn't take that job without assurances that he could move out any players he did not find that were up to snuff. And I think you come in, you say, okay, let's get a good look at him. They say to him, you got some time. I mean, like, we don't expect you to win right now, but we want to brand ourselves. We want to have an identity. And then from there, let's start to move your guys in. So, yeah, I would think that in this window or next, we're going to start to see a lot of cast-offs and a lot of new guys, a lot of his type of players come in, because right now they just don't have the personnel. I mean, you're asking Magnus Eriksson to 1v1 a whole match. I mean, he doesn't want to do that. Of course, Wondolowski.
Misfit pieces.
Man, Wondolowski will go out there. He will die for you. He's that type of captain, but he doesn't have it in his legs to go 1v1 with guys. So he's going to have to get players in there that fit the system and get the guys that don't out, or else they're going to be bad for a long time. And I don't think he's not the type to stick around if they're going to be bad for a long time.
Not many players you see there that you think could start for other teams. I mean, Nick Lima, who came through on the U.S. camps, he looks the part, a guy, very specialist, a right back.
Yeah.
That might be it.
Falco sometimes. See, they have a lot of players that on their day can play well, and it seems like for these first 3 games of the season, for 25 minutes, these guys show up, and then maybe the system wears on them, or teams just kind of once you kind of figure out that they're going 1-to-1, and if you can hold your nerve and meet that level, you can pass through them.
San Jose, Northern California, I hope you do well, because that's good to know that you're there. There's a strong bond with the LA club, certainly us here at LAFC as well. So we're pulling for you a little bit.
No.
Maybe not.
I mean,
just a wee bit. Just get it. Come on.
I'm just pulling to see Matias Almeida with that fantastic hair out
there.
I
like me some Almeida. And Chris Armas mentioned, he goes, he's great for the league, but he's got to have some good players to be watching over. Hey, why don't we when we come back, let's get into this Real Salt Lake preview.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's go deep.
LAFC Real Salt Lake in English, exclusively on YouTube TV. Catch us starting at 7 o'clock. That's the pregame show, all-day programming. We'll get to that, LAFC RSL, and we'll have a little bit of fun as we wrap up Inside LAFC. All right, back here on Inside LAFC, we're trying to get little segments here that we make regularly on this podcast, and we have LAFC, hashtag LAFC PodFam.
PodFam shoutouts.
PodFam shoutouts.
I mean, everyone loves shoutouts. That's, I think, the number one thing that I hear people go, hey, I love the podcast. It's fun. You guys are fun. Hey, I heard you shouted out so-and-so. That's awesome. And they're kind of, it's like a wink, like, hey, how can I get in there?
Is there another expression for shout out that we should be able to use?
I feel like there is, and I've racked my brain because I would like, because there's a lot of people that do shout outs, and you don't want to, take their bit, but it seems like the only word you can take for them. But
I'm trying to stop saying shout out, and I'm also trying to stop saying put your hands together.
Yeah, put your hands together. You got to get rid of.
Put your hands together.
Yeah, I guess.
That expression always kind of riled me up. All right.
Well, shout outs. I do want to shout out, the LAFC PodFam. Let's start with one that's in our a little really close to home. Walker Zimmerman's podcast, The Locker Room, launched last week. If you haven't already, if you subscribe to this podcast, you also get that podcast. Walker had Aaron Kovar on, which was fantastic. A lot of people were...
I've not listened to it yet, but I shall.
You should, because a lot of people didn't realize that Aaron was not here when he decided to retire, and they kind of go over that. A lot of people, when word got out that he retired, were like, oh, what was that like? Did he just not show up one day? Or no. This was a decision, and I think if you listen to the podcast, you'll see that it wasn't something that he woke up one day and decided, hey, I'm gonna retire. So listen to that. Walker gives a unique perspective.
And Aaron has a very bright future. He's a bright guy, and he has some very good. I'm very excited to see what he has on his plate moving forward.
Yeah, taught himself piano. I mean, that alone just blows my mind. So take a look at that. Walker's really committed to doing it. We're going to do that. Is it bi-week? Okay, here we go. Bi-weekly. Does that mean once every 2 weeks or twice in a week?
Really
I should know this because I'm a journalist, but I don't know.
I think it's once every 2 weeks.
Okay, bi-weekly. It will come bi-weekly. Walker's got some cool stuff planned.
Hey, Walker Zimmerman does 2 podcasts a week. We're going to have to reel him back a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get in trouble. I'll get in trouble.
Yeah.
The Shoulder to Shoulder guys had Lord Commander, a guy that I've had the pleasure of talking with.
Wonderful supporter.
I love him. He's so respectful as Lord Commander would be.
Yes.
But he gives you kind of a background on the name. Basically, his roots go very deep in supporting soccer culture out here. So that's a good listen. The Heart of LAFC guys, I listened to it on the way in. They broke down the NYCFC game. So if you want to listen to some more NYCFC game and get a different perspective, they've got kind of a cool angle on that. And then the Defenders of the Bank.
Yeah.
They had a podcast. They also broke down, but I think the big thing here is JR, the Scarf, is getting his own scarf.
I saw some of that.
Wednesday at HQ, there's a new scarf coming out. This is directly from him. He has every single scarf we've ever put out sold and or given away. Not just the sold ones, literally the giveaways.
Keep in mind, wearing scarves, it's starting to get warm in Los Angeles, so that is a real commitment. But Defenders of the Bank guys, too, have been great. They're always there. I look forward to seeing everyone out there. Come and say hello. Everyone at the stadium, we see you. If you're there, come by, high five, hug. If you're not at the stadium and you're listening to this, maybe you can watch it on YouTube TV as we get our coverage off and running, and our producer, Bernard Worrell and Ulysses Roman, done a great job. We have built, really excited about some of the programs we have. There is a new show coming out called Faces of LAFC, and most of the shows that are on YouTube TV will have me on it in some way, shape, or form. This one does not have me.
What?
And it might be the best show we have.
How do you have a show without the lead broadcaster?
I was watching and I go, this is really good. And I go, is it because I'm not in it? And it's not the case. It's just really cool.
You didn't say that out loud though, right?
I thought about it. I go, man, this show's really good.
You buried it deep away because you didn't want to.
I just thought it.
Don't plant that seed in Bernard's head.
Taste of LAFC is exceptional. So those two are right there. They're all great shows. LAFC Black and Gold, where you can see this young man coming through, and we have a good chat. We'll have that as well. A new episode coming out on Saturday before the game. Francisco X Rivera will join us, and we recorded that show. It's going to be pretty cool. We have some fun
Max
some fun
in a
parts.
referee.
I am in a referee outfit.
Get up.
So we got you covered, man. Just put it on. Whether you're going to get into it or whether it's background noise.
Yeah.
YouTube TV.
Get pumped up. The lead-in for the game. We're making this now what a legit team channel should be, with a lot of programming, and it's fun to watch. I get to see all these things come in beforehand, so I'm excited about it too.
Plus one is Rodolfo Landeros, and I'm really excited about having him. He worked with Fox during the World Cup. He works for Fox Deportes. I think it's Fox. It is Fox Deportes. On a weekly basis, they do a lot of good stuff, including covering the Champions League, etc. he's very in line with the Mexican press. He's working through that, so I'm curious to see what he's going to have to say about Carlos Vela and how he's been received in Mexico with what he's done. So it's going to be a comprehensive show, and I'm very excited about it. And then we're going to have to raise the bar the next time. And you might pop on.
I might pop on from time to time, and I love UMax, but I've got to say the plus ones are one of my favorite things that we do. And it's not because
you never know who it's
an extra voice. You just never know who it's going to be, and we get different perspective. It was good to see like Mo Adu out last time, Warren Barton. It's just a bunch of different people that run through. I think it's one of the cooler ideas, and I think some people are. I think there's some teams that are starting to steal it. I've heard.
Oh
so
yes,
we won't shout them out.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing that some people are also liking the idea a little too much.
Much like the Jonas Brothers kind of jacked the Portugal the Man song. That's that new thing. They said they kind of maybe people getting jacking the plus one.
Yeah. How dare they?
There is two teams. I'm not going to mention them.
Speaking of songs,
it's not apples to apples.
Yeah,
but getting the music. Okay, I'm going to start this week about one thing I got an idea for. That Eduardo Atuesta's become such an important part of this team, and even more so for this game against Real Salt Lake, as he is going. He's really going to be locking it down without Mark Anthony Kaye alongside him. Lee Win, we'll see what happens there, but he's becoming a very reliable person. So I think we've got to find something for him.
Yeah.
And I started saying Edward, and then I started saying Eddie, and then Eddie. I started thinking of who would you think if I started with Eddie? Eddie Van Halen.
Ooh.
So
I was going to say Eddie Money. No?
Get out of here. So Eddie Atuesta, and I started thinking the Van Halen songs, and then I thought about Unchained. And I thought maybe we could sing that for him at the games. But if you ever heard that song, it goes chained, and nothing stays the same. Unchained, then you hit the ground running. So I feel him finally becoming this featured player and hitting the ground running. It's also a great jam, so 3252, if you want to discuss this, maybe we could sing that at some point. I also thought about Carlos Vela. After he hit that, I kept humming Center Field by John Fogerty.
John Fogerty.
I don't
the
know
best part about Center Field by John Fogerty is when he would play it live and he had that baseball bat guitar.
Yes!
I mean, that's the only thing
The Beach Life Festival, which is going to be great May 3rd to the 5th. They had a John Fogerty, but he can't make it right now, but there's still a great lineup. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't love it. That makes me sad.
Yeah.
I like that you brought lyrics into it because that kind of transitions into my pick. Although I will say, had Dio nailed that final shot of the game, perfect song would have been New York Groove.
Yeah.
A little glam.
I thought about that.
New York Groove.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you tie, you don't feel
That's Ace Frehley, right?
Well, Ace Frehley does a cover. I believe it's originally.
Did you say Frehley? I thought it was Frehley.
No, it's Ace Frehley. How dare you? I think it's originally.
Let's ask Ace.
He probably would come on, actually. He's got nothing else going on.
That would be incredible.
I think the original is done by a band called Hello, which is a big
you're right.
band.
You're right. It's very poppy. That's
big
right.
Glam band. I like the glam a little bit. T-Rex fan myself. Big T-Rex fan.
Hey, we're very urgent here. I got a text because practice is wrapping up. We've got to talk to the particulars. So let's move on really quickly. A preview Real Salt Lake. I think we did a lot through the podcast. This is a situation where I think some guys will get that look because of international duty. There's 4 players that are unavailable. And this is a Real Salt Lake team that just lost 5-0. Confidence is very low, and they're going to be decimated by international play. So you look at this, and this is a spot where LAFC should really get after it. Whether it happens, and at the end of the day, you just want to get a victory. But this is the team that knocked you out of the postseason, and that's going to carry some weight in some way, shape, or form. You know the guys are thinking about it. We were all there at Bank of California Stadium on November the 1st, and we all had our head in our hands and how disappointed we felt, and we remember that. So all of that comes into this. You spin it up, you have a nice salad for Saturday.
Yeah, this is the quintessential. If you can't get up for this game, what can you get up for? Because you want a little bit of revenge. Yeah, it's not going to quench that desire that you had from last season when they knocked you out. But you look at them, you want revenge at your home the first time they're back. Then you look at the guys that they're going to be missing. And then the red cards, it just keeps stacking up. So this is a game where you go, man, you got to go for it. And if you're one of those guys that said that your number's now being called because a few guys are going to be away, like Mark Anthony Kaye, like Christian Ramirez, put yourself out there, man. Get out there, and the best way to do it is just hammer this team.
Yeah.
I mean, this
would be a real marker, and it's going to be very capable. Again, you're missing some key players, but this is where that depth we talked about could come in a big role, and I think they're going to be ready for it, and it'd be great to be home after they go the road for 2 games after this.
Yeah, there's really no excuses, right? You can't say, oh, well, the field, no, the field's going to be perfect. They're not going to have their top lineup. You got to get in there, and you just got to get right on top of them from the get-go. Because what happened last time, we tried to leave it late, and they were able to hold out by just parking the bus. So don't let that happen. Get out in front, get the first goal, get the second goal, put it done and dusted. Those are the things.
Get the third.
Get the third. Those are the things that Bob wants them to do, is make sure, hey, look, that game was 2-1. It should have been done and dusted. So this year, if we're taking that next step, then you got to close out those games and just win the games you got to win, so you're able to coast. And like you said, go on the road, get healthy again, but do your job at home first.
Yes. And again, injured animal, which is Real Salt Lake, they are an okay start. So this result, it may be an outlier. It was just a crazy day. Wayne Rooney scoring 3, and his assist, if you haven't seen it, on the 4th goal was one of the best crosses I've seen.
Goal of the week and pass of the week.
Pass of the week. This ball just levitated. It was incredible. So when you have a team that's that down, and they are good, they were a playoff team. They made it there. They're well coached. This is a guy who'll get them ready. They've had their 2% beer. They're going to be ready to rock and roll. So you can't overlook them. And I know that Bob and the group have the LAFC making sure about knowing that this is a team that can complicate things. But there is an opportunity there, and we'll see if the guys grab it.
Yep.
All right.
They have to. I mean, this is we don't normally say this, but this is. There's no excuses. This is
10 points out of 4 games, unbeatable.
Yeah, fantastic. It would be a fantastic start, and I think we probably dive into the analytics and stats. I would say 10 points in 4 games almost assures you that you're going to be a playoff contender.
Woo! Getting off to a quick start always pays off. They're not going to put into second gear at the second half of the season. That's not on the books at all.
No.
All right, pal. We'll see you. We're going to be a very busy week. We'll get ready for you. Again, subscribe to Inside LAFC. Subscribe to all the LAFC pod family. And we're here to serve you, and it's been great to be doing this for the last few weeks. And again, see you at the stadium or check it out on YouTube TV starting at 5:30 with all our great programming, LAFC Black and Gold, Faces of LAFC. It's going to be a great, great day. See you then.
See you there.